Thank you so much for tuning in. This is my first video as the Grateful Girl. I am Kara Thibodeau. I am the Grateful Girl, food blogger, recipe developer, and animal rights advocate. So I just wanted to do a quick video for you guys and to give you a couple of my favorite films that I watched that led to me becoming vegan. And I think if you watch them, you may consider this lifestyle too. So without further ado, here are the top 5 films that I recommend, and I believe that if you watch them, you just might become vegan. So the first film I recommend you watching is a film that a lot of people are familiar with, and it got a lot of buzz at the beginning of last year, and that is What the Health. And I'm sure you've seen it pop up on your news feed on Netflix, just as I did. My sister was actually the reason why I watched What the Health. I was not interested in watching What the Health whatsoever because I did not want to learn about where my food came from, what was in my food. I just kind of wanted to keep those blinders on. I didn't want to know. And she told me that she had watched some of it, and she came to me and she said, well, I watched the film and they talked about how bacon and eggs are bad for you. And I was just like, what? So I had to watch What the Health, and I absolutely recommend this film. It's such a well thought out film. It basically breaks down how our food is directly affecting our health. And when I say our food, I mean the animals that we eat every single day, 3 times a day, and how that correlates to big pharma, and big pharma also sponsoring associations such as the American Cancer Society. There's a lot of really great information in there, and I love a good conspiracy theory, but this film is truly not conspiracy. These are all facts. I definitely recommend you watching this. It will give you a lot of insight as to, what we've been told every day to eat on the standard American diet is actually really detrimental to our health when it comes to meat being a carcinogen by the World Health Organization. It is literally classified as a carcinogenic. You watch that film and it just makes so much sense that, what we're putting into our bodies is having an effect on our health. And it shows that by switching over to a plant-based diet, we could actually eliminate and reverse these chronic illnesses and diseases. I definitely recommend you watch What the Health. It's available on Netflix, so check that one out. Number 2 is Food Choices. This is also a documentary. It's available for you to watch on Netflix. After I had watched What the Health, I was so scared of everything that was in my fridge, and I literally took out every single thing of processed foods and meats. I took it all out of the fridge and the pantry. I mean, it was all gone. And so after that, I was really like, what do I eat? And so being vegan, sometimes the how can be really hard. And so by watching this documentary, Food Choices, it really kind of breaks down a lot of the myths that surround a plant-based diet and how do you go about effectively transitioning to a plant-based diet, whether that's do I buy organic versus non-organic foods? Is being vegan expensive? And so forth. So I really recommend that film as well. It gave me a lot of information to essentially start transitioning over to becoming vegan. And I really loved all the information in it and just kind of the message behind it as well. It made me feel excited and hopeful, and knowing that, by switching to a plant-based diet, it's a great lifestyle change. It's healthy, it's great for the environment, it's good for the animals, and it just really made me feel so positive about my choice. And so I really recommend that film because, when you start to look at a lot of these documentaries, sometimes it can bring you down. Some of this information, that's been hidden from us, and it can seem a little overwhelming because we've known something different our entire life. And so to learn that there's a new way to live can be a little overwhelming. But this film really makes you feel really hopeful and know that this is something that is accessible, it's easy, and that you can do it, and everybody can do it. And so I really recommend you watch Food Choices. Number three on my list would have to be Cowspiracy. Cowspiracy is also from the creators of What the Health and was actually their first film before they created What the Health. And Cowspiracy basically talks about how our need for meat is directly affecting the environment. I did not know that livestock agriculture is one of the top contributors to climate change. And that is because we produce so much livestock and we kill about almost, I want to say it's 56 billion land animals a year. And I mean, when you think about that and you think about the waste livestock produces, just literally feces waste, and how much water and the food that we have to feed these animals to fatten them up so that we can eat them, when we're clearing this land for grass-fed cows, when we're clearing that land so that we can feed the animals, when that food could actually be fed to other nations and countries who are suffering from starvation. I mean, I never thought that, a hamburger had such detrimental effects to our environment. And it's such a powerful film. And it's, if you're a little afraid to watch something like that because you're not really ready to see graphic images, Cowspiracy is not that. It is simply talking about animal agriculture and the direct correlation it has to climate change. And that if we don't start transitioning to a plant-based world, we are really going to see some immense effects to our environment. We're already seeing that now. I live in Texas, and going through Harvey and seeing Puerto Rico and Irma in Florida. I mean, climate change is here and it's happening, and the only way that we can continue to call this earth our home is to transition to a plant-based diet, because that is what is going to sustain us for years and years and years to come. So I definitely recommend you watch Cowspiracy so that you can also make that connection as well, that our animal agriculture has a direct effect on our planet. Number four is a very, very amazing documentary. After I watched What the Health, I kind of shared my experience on my Facebook feed, and I actually didn't know, I already had a few friends that were already vegan, and one of the documentaries that they recommended I watched was Earthlings. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about Earthlings because it is very graphic. It shows every aspect of how we use and abuse animals for our taste, for our clothes, for our cosmetics, for our testing. I told myself I'm going to watch all these documentaries, because when you start watching these documentaries, you just want to go full force. There's so many films, amazing films that aren't even on this list, but that you just want to watch because it just, the information is so amazing and just so powerful. And so, I had done a little bit of research about Earthlings, and I knew it was going to be kind of hard to watch. And so I saved this for last. And I think I kind of over prepared myself because I knew it was going to be graphic. So when I watched Earthlings, I don't know if it moved me as much as the next film I'm going to tell you about. But I will say it's very, very informational. I mean, there's such great, information that is truly hidden from us. There's a reason why we don't see slaughterhouses. We know it happens. There's a reason why we don't go look at the footage, because we don't want it to put us off of our food. And I watched that film, and to see every aspect, it gave me a lot of information, because I didn't know the lengths in which we use animals. I mean, I didn't realize the type of testing that goes on for medical purposes, for our cosmetics, and it doesn't need to happen. And leather industry, and how we take from these animals. And I saw that, and it blew my mind. I kind of like knew it happened, but to really be faced with all of these things that every day seem so normal, but to see the process and how it gets to my plate, to see the process of how it gets on my handbag and on my clothes and on my face. I mean, I was just blown away. So I really, really advise you to watch Earthlings. It's a great film by Joaquin Phoenix, who is a great animal activist and a vegan himself. And you can find that documentary on YouTube. So if you just search Earthlings, there will be a couple of variations that will pop up. Just choose any of them. It's a wonderful film. Number 5 on my list is a film that is so near and dear to my heart. It is absolutely what made me make the connection. And I'd watch What the Health, and that one is about how animals and our consumption of animals directly affects our health. I'd watched Cowspiracy, and I saw how our need for meat is affecting our planet. But what really, really makes the transition effective is when you make the connection that animals are not here for us, and animals feel pain, and that they are sentient beings. Because when I watched What the Health, although it was truly effective, I did not stay vegan. And I tell you that because everybody is going to make these mistakes, and that's okay. And I am all about an easy transition to going completely vegan and plant-based. But when I watched What the Health, there was something different. I had watched What the Health, and I wanted to give up eating meat and animal products because it affected me and my health. And although there's nothing wrong with being vegan for your health, sometimes it's hard for us to stick to that, to stick to being vegan, because unfortunately sometimes we don't always put ourselves first. And when I watched this film, number 5 on the list is Okja. And Okja directly spoke to me. And it is a little bit of a different film. It's not a documentary. Basically, Okja is a film about this little girl in Korea, and her grandfather is a farmer, and he has been tasked to raise Okja, this genetically modified pig, for this corporation. And so the corporation will one day come and procure Okja for meat. And the little girl has this amazing bond with Okja. She doesn't know Okja's fate. And they have this incredible bond. And at the very beginning of the movie, she falls off a cliff and he saves her. And it just kind of reminded me of this unconditional love that animals have. And, we have our pets every day, and we see that even though they don't talk to us, they love us. And it's just this unconditional bond and love that they give to us. And so that right there, I had kind of made that connection in that very first 10 minutes of the film. And so when the corporation comes back and they take Okja, she basically goes on this journey to go and find him and bring him back home. And on her journey, she meets other animal rights activists. And at the end of that film, it just really brought it all home to me. And at the end of the film, Okja is being poked and prodded with these electric prods into the slaughterhouse. And you just see all of these pigs that look just like Okja, and they're all about to endure the same fate. And luckily, the little girl and the rest of the animal activists get there in time, right before Okja is being put onto this conveyor belt where he will eventually have his throat slit, and his body will be used for meat. And so she makes a deal with the head of the corporation to let her have Okja. And they make that deal. And as she's leaving with Okja, there's a family, a mom, a dad, and a little pig behind the fence. And they look at each other, and the mother slides the baby pig up under the fence. And the next scene you see, Okja is hiding the baby, and they go home. And at the end of that film, I remember just being in my bed, just sobbing and just crying. I had seen the footage of Earthlings, and it affected me. It made me sad, but this film really, really just, I made the connection. What are we doing is all I could keep saying in between sobs. I just asked, what are we doing? what are we doing? What are we doing? These animals are the most innocent creatures, and they don't deserve what we do to them. And I really made that connection. And once I made that connection, that animals are, they feel pain, they feel love, they can suffer, and that, you know, that we are not supposed to use them. We're not supposed to do the things that we do to them, because there's another way to live, and there's another way to eat, and there's no reason why we should be putting these sentient beings through so much torture and suffering and misery and pain. These animals don't even get to see the sunlight. They don't get to feel the grass beneath their feet. They don't get to smell fresh air. You know, we take those basic abilities away from them. And I absolutely recommend watching Okja. It's an amazing film, and just let those last 10 minutes of that film just soak in, because I know that everybody, even if you're not vegan, even if you're not vegetarian, we all have compassion inside of us. It's been present within us since we were little kids. And as we grow up, we get that taken away from us because we're told to love a dog, but to eat pigs and to wear cows. And it's not your fault. It's not my fault. And it's just a better way to live. And once you know better, you can do better. And I really believe that if you watch these 5 films, that you will really start to open your eyes and to question the norm, and to do the right thing, to do the right thing for your health, for the planet, and for the animals.